Hey, what's up dudes and girls? Here in the gym with another single exercise tutorial, and today we're going to be covering the skull crushers, one of our favorites. And the name alone sounds pretty badass, and the exercise itself is also pretty badass for building those big ass tree trunk triceps. We got the bar already set up here. We're going to be doing it on a bench, a flat bench. I'm just going to be going through some repetitions to kind of give you a good idea what it should look like, and then we're going to talk about it afterward and dissect it. Hopefully you can learn something, and hopefully I don't injure myself. Of course I won't. I know how to do it, right? Yeah. So top position here. I'm actually going to talk about it as I'm doing it, just to go over a few form adjustments you can do for yourself. Now the skull crusher itself is going to be lowering the bar down to the skull here, and then extending straight up. You're immediately going to feel it in the triceps because it's working on elbow flexion there. I like to do a slight adjustment to it where you're actually bringing it back, bringing your elbows a little farther back so it brings it behind your skull just like so, and then extend slightly back. It's going to keep a little bit more tension in the triceps because you have to hold it more in a farther back position through here, but it's a little bit, for me, feels a little bit more stretch and comfort in the full exercise. So going it down. There we go. So this is really working on the long head of the tricep. There's three heads of the tricep: the long, the lateral, and the medial. Now this one really technically works all of them, but it's putting a little bit more stress on the long head of the tricep due to the positioning and the nice stretch when you're coming behind your head there. Now the long head of tricep is the biggest head of the triceps there, so it's going to create a little bit more bulk and strength in there. So it's going to actually carry over to a lot of other pushing exercises, whether that be dumbbell presses or bench pressing, things like that, where it's going to be a lot of pushing. The triceps is going to be a secondary muscle group. So this one is really good to kind of introduce into a program where you want to gain not only size in the tricep but also strength. So let's go over a couple function in here. The unfortunate part about this exercise is if you're dealing with any kind of tennis elbow issues, this exercise is gonna probably be bad for you in a sense where you're gonna feel a lot in the elbow. It's gonna create a lot of tension in there. So when I was talking about bringing your elbows back where the bar is coming more behind the head rather than right at the skull, basically the top of the skull there, no, not the top, more the forehead area, it's gonna create not only stretch, but it's gonna decrease the angle of the elbow. So if you're dealing with any kind of pain in the elbow, try that one where you're slightly coming behind the head and extending back through here. It's going to create more tension in the tricep, but also less of an angle in the elbow joint itself. Because if you're coming here, as you can see, the elbow joint is a pretty harsh angle. If you're coming back here, it's going to increase the angle. So, and hopefully it'll have less tension in the actual elbow itself and more tension in the tricep to help stabilize that movement. So that's one adjustment you can make if you're dealing with any issues in your elbow joint. Some of the issues also people will make in this one is flaring the elbows out and creating a push in it. So if you're looking at me in a top view and I'm laying down and I'm doing skull crushers here, if I'm getting in this position where all of a sudden my elbows start flaring out and I start pushing through here, that's going to incorporate more of a push rather than an extension. So once you start pushing, the front delt's going to get into play, a little bit the chest, and it's no longer really isolating the tricep itself. So the elbow extension is this right here, and of course this is flexion, so if you're extending, that's really the motion you want to keep. So keeping those elbows turned in, they can slightly flare out, but you don't want to flare them out as much where they're more in a pushing motion. So you want to extend right in the elbow joint itself. That's going to help keep that isolation right in the tricep area there. Another thing you don't want to do is, of course, lift your hips up off the bench. You really want to try to keep your hips firmly planted on the bench itself, feet flat on the floor. This one is an isolation exercise, so it's pretty simple, really just working in that elbow joint. But there's also adjustment you can make. Let's say if you're feeling uncomfortable with a bar like this, the Easy Curl bar, or even like a barbell. You can grab a pair of dumbbells. I'm just gonna go light for the sake of the movement here. And you're gonna be in the same positioning, but now you're bringing the dumbbells down right the sides of the head and extending straight up. Now this one, all of a sudden, you're gonna feel a lot more in balance because each arm is working independently from each other. But the good thing is you can make any kind of slight adjustments you want now that they're working independently from each other, and you can make any adjustments. Even some rotation in there if you want. Rotate the palms back, down, side of the head, extend, slight rotation. Get a little bit more extra contraction there in the triceps itself. So there's a lot of different ways you can do skull crushers. Thankfully there's not too much can go wrong other than the, outward rotation of the elbows going to the push. But as long as the main point of contact is the upper back area, keeping the elbows tight, keeping the bar right about the skull area or slightly behind, get that full contraction, not only on the way down, but on the way up too. Get a nice squeeze. Then you're gonna build bigger, stronger triceps, buff dude style. Hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial. We've got a lot more coming in the future, and we've had a lot more in the past. So check those out if you haven't already, and look forward to seeing you on the next exercise tutorial. And as always, stay buff. Yeah.